All right, we're rolling. What's going on, guys? Welcome to Bow Hunting Pressured Whitetails. My name is Jake. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about advanced e-scouting tactics. And you might be thinking, well, what kind of advanced e-scouting tactics is there? I already know all there is to know. Well, maybe you do, maybe you don't. This is probably, all these applications are applications I'm sure you're familiar with, but what I am finding in these applications may be something you might not be aware of. So I wanted to make this video to kind of share some stuff with you. This is the kind of time of year where I'm doing a lot of retrospecting. I'm going back through all my gear, making sure everything's good to be stored away for the year, fixing stuff that needs fixed, updating stuff that needs updating, and then I'm doing a lot of, believe it or not, I'm doing just a lot of like pouring over maps and e-scouting, because that's pretty much the only connection to the deer woods that I want right now. I'm super burned out. Don't really want to be outside. I'm very tired. But I want to share this stuff with you guys because it's really cool in my opinion. So just to start off, the main mapping application that I use is Onyx. I don't have any affiliation with them. It's just the application that I use that I like the most. I know there's applications out there that people say are better and all that stuff, but this is what I use. I also use Google Earth, and I use these two applications in very close conjunction with each other. And I'll go into more detail, but most of these tips are going to be kind of focused around the Google Earth application and how you can use that to really maximize your e-scouting. So with Onyx, everything's pretty cut and dry. You have all of your different layers. You have a hybrid layer that shows you topo lines. You've got your satellite layer. You've got your non-satellite imagery layer that's just the topo lines. There's only so much you could do with Onyx, only so much you can see. Honestly, the satellite imagery is very limited most of the time. They don't really give you a whole lot. It's summertime imagery. You don't have the option to switch between different imagery. So it's great when you're in the field and you're making waypoints, you're taking pictures and putting stuff on pins, tracking yourself, doing all this kind of stuff. But when you really want to be able to kind of be sneaky and spy on the sky on deer and get as much possible information as you can, you kind of got to just figure out some other ways of doing it, because Onyx is not going to give you the type of imagery to really see what you need to see. And that's where I kind of go to Google Earth. And Google Earth has a much wider selection of imagery that you can use to your advantage. They have imagery usually from multiple seasons. A lot of times they'll have a fall imagery. I've seen some October imagery where you got like leaves off a lot of softwoods and leaves on with a lot of hardwoods, and vice versa. You've got winter imagery, you got summertime imagery. So I want to just kind of go through how to maximize each type of imagery in Google Earth. Now, the first thing that you're going to realize with Google Earth is, how do I even find my spot? Because they don't have, all the public land boundaries. They don't have anything shaded off. So how the heck do I find what I'm looking at on Google Earth versus Onyx? Well, the fastest way to do that is by going to Onyx and going and clicking on a pin that you drop, copying the coordinates, and yes, I am giving away the spot, copying the coordinates, going to Google Earth, pasting them in, hitting enter. And then that'll just bring you right to that spot on Google Earth. Now, this also works with mapping software, which is super helpful. I don't know if you've ever done this, but if you're on Onyx, you have a pin, you want to navigate to it, the easiest way to do that is click on the pin, copy that latitude or longitude, paste it into your Apple Maps or Google Maps or whatever. Boom, you can go. So that's a very quick way that I use to navigate to my hunting spots as well. So this took me right to Google Earth. And so that's a quick way to take what you're looking at on Onyx and then get it over on Google Earth so you can look at it with the Google Earth imagery. Now, when you're in Google Earth, pretty much the main feature that I use is the historical imagery. So if you click on this little clock icon, it'll show little hash marks of when each of the time periods of when that imagery was taken. So I can go back to like April time period, so that's leaves off. We got like September. Keep going. If you're lucky, you can find winter imagery. But pretty much the main two things that you want is you want a good leaves on imagery, like a summertime imagery, and then you want a nice leaves off imagery. So just looking at this imagery right here with leaves off, now I'm going to scroll over here to this hardwoods. Now you can see all the variation in here. You can see all the wet spots. The wet spots are showing up darker. The dry spots are showing up lighter. Now if I take this off, obviously now with the treetops and the summer imagery, everything looks the same. So that's one very nice feature to being able to see. All right, I'll go back. Now the other main thing that I do is I use it to look at swamps. So if I zoom into the swamp with the leaves off imagery, I can see all these trails cutting through swamps. And I would never be able to see this with summertime imagery like I can right now. And this is super nice because you can see if there's different fingers of woods that trails are kind of skirting the edge and coming to points. You can find really nice intersections. You can find clusters of trees that might be used for bedding if you see like a spider web of trails coming out of it or going to it. Yeah, like right here, there's this there's a point right here. Yeah, this point right here there's a field, a finger, it looks like some grass maybe, and then right off this finger, all sorts of trails coming off that. So that's obviously a spot where the deer are going and entering and exiting from this swamp. So really cool stuff that you can see with the leaves off imagery. If you're scouting swamps, this is 100% the way to go. So now we'll go back to summer imagery. Okay. Now this is something really cool is, let's see when this last, whoops. So this was in the summer of 2022. So this imagery was taken last year. And so I don't know when the latest imagery is on whatever area that you're looking at, but if the newer the year for the imagery, the better clarity you're going to get. And you really want good clarity for summertime imagery because there's some really cool stuff that you can find. Most of the time, if it's summer imagery, a lot of guys are like, well, I can't use summer imagery. This isn't useful for anything. Oh, yeah? Oh, yeah? Let me show you this. So, summertime imagery, very, very clear. And I'm going to zoom in right here. Now, you see all these light spots? All these light spots are deer beds. Every single one of them is a deer bed. And if you see the dark spots, that's the shadow from trees and stuff like that are sticking up. But all these light spots, that's where the grass has been matted down. And so because of the fact that this imagery was taken on a very sunny day, that matted down grass is reflecting the light more than the standing up grass. And so all these beds show up as light spots. And you can see this area right here is just covered with them. And it's super cool to see this because it'll show you deer densities in different areas. And I've been finding that a lot of these very high density beds are in areas that are right next to crop fields. So that's really cool because that's going to show you where deer are typically hanging out. And you might think, oh, summertime beds don't really matter. Well, they do because it's going to show you just in general where deer are hanging out. Let me show you another really cool thing. So this is a field that I was looking at. And I was searching for beds. Now these right here are deer. You can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. But they're deer. They're a little bit lighter colored, and you can see their shadows. And they're just chilling out in that field. So sometimes you get really lucky, and you can actually see freaking deer in the field, and it's so cool. And I haven't been able to accomplish this with imagery older than 2022. So it just kind of is like a hit and miss. Like if you have an area with newer imagery, like pay attention because you can start hunting through grass fields and you can find all the beds, you can find deer, you can find all sorts of stuff, and it's really sweet. So that's pretty much the gist of the stuff that you can find with the summer and the fall imagery on Google Earth. And I'm not going to go into too much more detail because I'll let you kind of have fun with that and look in your own areas and stuff like that. But you might notice that I have white lines traced around this particular little area over here, and this is just some public land that's over in Indiana, if you haven't been able to figure that out yet. And might be hunting it, might not, but just kind of doing some e-scouting on it. And you'll notice I have all of it traced out on Google Earth. Now, I think it's called a KML file. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. What is the Google Earth file? And some states have a KML file for all of the public land boundaries, and you can actually go to the state's website. You can download that. I think it's KML or KMZ file, and then just upload it in Google Earth Pro, and boom, you have like all the boundaries on Google Earth. It's sweet. My state does not have that I know of. So the way that I do it is a little bit more tricky, but it can be done. And with a little bit of time, you can have all of your public land boundaries on Google Earth. That way, you don't have to keep going back and forth, copy and pasting latitudes, longitude points, and all that jazz. Okay, so right here we got some stuff, and this is over by Coldwater, Michigan, public land area. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and screenshot this. Okay, so I screenshot that area, and then I'm going to go back to, well, first of all, I'm going to copy the coordinates so I can go paste it into Google Earth Pro. Copy, paste, hit enter. That's going to take me over to the spot. All right, so now what I'm going to do is up here, there's like a little icon. It looks like two boxes over top of each other. It says add image overlay. Click on that. Okay, now I'm going to browse, and I'm going to find that image on my desktop. Click on that. Hit open, and boom, it just added an image to my Google Earth. Now, right now, this is not helpful at all. But you will notice if I hold down Shift and then drag the corners, I can scale this up and down. And then if I click on the middle, I can move it around, okay? Now, also, the main kicker with this is there's a transparency option. So I'm going to bring this transparency down to where I can see, while I move this, I can see what's underneath of it as well. And so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to find some sort of landmark. So I'm going to use that little lake right there. And I'm going to find that little lake on both images, and then I'm going to start just lining stuff up and matching the scale. So that's the little lake. I've also got a lake up here. So I'm kind of just finding stuff, or it could be roads. Obviously, you can see that there's a road kind of going through this. That is pretty dang close. Obviously, you can fine-tune this. All right, and then when you're done, just put your opacity back up. Click OK. So now this is locked onto your Google Earth. You can go up here in the sidebar, and this shows you all of your spots, and this says Untitled Image Overlay. So I can toggle this on and off. I can click on it and click Delete and get rid of it later, which I'm going to do. Oops, cancel. So now I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to add a path, okay? And I'm just zooming in and zooming out in different areas to move my map around so that I can get over there, because it doesn't really let you click and do anything. But I'm just going to click, and I'm going to start outlining this piece of public land. Just tracing my image from Onyx. And it doesn't have to be exact, because you're not really pinning anything necessarily. You're just putting this path on here so that you know the general area that you can be looking on Google Earth and trying to find stuff. And you get down to the last one and just drag it over or whatever and call this whatever you want, blah blah. And then you can go over here, and you can usually up the thickness of the line to about 4, just so you can see it. Okay, so now I have that, and I'm going to go back and open up show my sidebar. I'm going to go to this image overlay, delete it, boom. Now what you're left with is just your traced path. So now anytime that you open up Google Earth Pro, then you'll have all of your spots saved, all of your paths and pins or whatever that you put on Google Earth Pro. And you can go through here, and you can, I mean, wow, this is some really nice imagery right here. But yeah, you can go through and look at and see what the imagery options are that they give you. Just kind of cycle through them. That was actually some older imagery, but it looks good. There's some summertime imagery that's pretty high def too. So dang. So pretty good stuff if you were trying to take a look at that piece, and you got really high def summer and fall imagery. So hopefully that helps you guys out. This is stuff I just kind of figured out as far as with Google Earth. I've used Google Earth for years to find stuff, but it does get tedious going back and forth, or sometimes I just want to stay on Google Earth and just keep looking through all sorts of areas until I find something. And then once I do, then I'll go and find that on Onyx and drop pins. Most of the time on Onyx, these pins are, they're all over the place, and I don't really understand why they're there. But I do know that if there's a random pin in a random spot, it's because it was from Google Earth. And that's usually where I always will jump to first when I'm scouting and stuff like that. So that's all I got on this one, guys. Just wanted to share that quick tip with you. Hopefully you guys are having fun this winter and staying warm. I know I'm not doing a ton of scouting yet or anything like that, but I am prepping for it, and then I'll be doing a lot of boots on the Then I'll be doing a lot of boots on the ground scouting once the weather gets warm, springtime comes around. I'll be doing a ton, be putting out a lot of miles, wearing out a lot of boot leather, checking out all these spots that I've been finding. So have fun, guys, and we will catch you in the next one.